Stained glass was one of the foremost forms of painting in Europe during the Middle Ages. Stained glass became more widespread in churches in this time period because great cathedrals were being built with giant windows. Stained glass designs were made from the layers of colored glass on top of a design drawn on a board, which meant not all the images on stained glass were realistic. In the Middle Ages, it was okay if the artwork wasn't perfectly realistic as long as it represented holiness. Stained glass art was displayed everywhere in churches, which inspired people to be better Christians because artists created faithful figures and objects from the Bible with the stained glass. They were used to decorate chapels and tell stories of Christ along the halls. Scenes from the Bible were also portrayed in stained glass like this one.
There's an abundance of paintings from the Middle Ages that represents how art was presented, but the best painting that does so is The Last Supper by Da Vinci. The Last Supper was painted during about 1492 to 1494. The painter who painted this painting was Leonardo da Vinci. This painting depicts the moment after Jesus Christ informed his disciples that one of them were to betray him. One can easily see the tension in this painting as the disciples glance around the room attempting to spot the traitor. The medium of this painting consists of oil on canvas, and although the painting is currently flaking due to lack of extensive layers, it shows the attention to detail the painter held. This is an example of how the Western Europeans began to paint more vivid paintings and include various shading techniques along with various color schemes to make the paintings more realistic.
The Islamic world and the Ottoman Empire looked up to the sultans of the empire. The sultans were solely made up of members from the Ottoman dynasty. What was most important to the Islamic people was prayer, as well as showing off their religious mosques. They would be very descriptive with their designs on their prayer mats, as well as the designs on the roof of their mosques. Prayer mats in the Ottoman Empire were a necessity in order to have a successful prayer to their God, and the more descriptive the designs on their mat were, they believed their God would listen to them better. All depictions that were created for religious purposes could contain absolutely no real figures. Instead, they created patterns that had a meaning to them, and that reflected back to the religion as well as nature. This prayer mat was created in the late 16th century, attributed to Turkey. It is made of wool and cotton pile on a silk foundation. The details in this carpet reflect back to their religion and shows how much religion plays a part in the Islamic people's daily lives.
Artists from the Islamic world were expected to create pieces of art that provoked strong emotions from the viewer because their artworks were used as tools for political and religious propaganda. Since museums weren't available in the 1500s, artists showcased their works in churches. Paintings during this time period were typically on canvases. An artist named El Greco created paintings of important religious figures suffering so people would connect emotionally with their artwork.
The Italian Renaissance was the first time period when the people could create images including people as well as Jesus Christ. Constantinople had made a rule to all of his people stating that nobody could create humans for any forms of the arts. This was because God was the creator of everything and the only creator. And if people created art with images of people, they were taking the role of the creator. Constantinople decided that since we were created in God's image, if the people created images in the image of God, that it would be okay. Artists then created many different paintings of Jesus Christ, especially the crucifixion. The crucifixion painted by Antonello de Messina is a great example of what paintings in the early Renaissance ages were like. Messina lived from 1420 to 1479 and painted his paintings in his earlier years. The painting is tempera and oil on canvas, which was what most paintings were made of in the Renaissance. Without all of the religious paintings created in the Renaissance, our art would be different to this day.
The Renaissance and the Middle Ages art is based very much off of religion. In these hard times of death and sorrow, faith was the only sanctuary. The Adoration of the Magi was painted by Gentilelli da Fabriano, dating from about 475 to 476. It is a painting that very much represents the type of art that was commonly painted in the Renaissance. This painting was inspired by the story brought upon in the Christian Bible when Christ was born and three kings led by an angel embarked on a journey to greet him. The medium of this painting is tempera and gold on wood. As seen in the painting, the first king to give his greetings was the oldest. The Mother Mary is calm and soothing to the newborn king. Many experts believe that her position is very saint-like.
Art forms throughout the Middle Ages, Islamic world, and Renaissance were all inspired from their religion. Religion was one of the most important aspects to people for hundreds of years, so artists showed their affection for their religion through different art forms. Religious art from the early Middle Ages consisted of designs and patterns, holding a meaning behind each and every design. Artists in the early Middle Ages were not allowed to draw depictions of people. Therefore, they drew designs instead of people. Artists were not allowed to draw people because God was the creator and created us in his image. Constantinople later made a rule that people could start drawing images with people in them. Artwork from the Islamic world were more realistic and depicted people, but artists were still pressured to only make religious pieces. Art from the Renaissance was focused mainly on detail and shading to make the paintings depicting religious events more accurate and realistic. Painters from the Renaissance also focused on creating a variety of color schemes to create contrast. In today's art world, many artists use smartphones and other devices to create self-portraits, also known as selfies.